Hello CraftDee family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So CraftDee. For today's DIY projects, I have some of my favorite Christmas DIYs that you can use to decorate your home using Dollar Tree and Dollar General items. Now these projects are put together in one video to inspire you and get you started on your holiday projects. Now the links to the original videos are included in the description box, and as always I have included the complete supply list as well, so you can easily use it for reference as you gather your supplies. Now before we start, I have to say hey to all of my subscribers, and if you're a new visitor to my channel today, I do hope you consider subscribing as well and stick around to enjoy these crafts and all the tips that I will share along the way. So now let's jump right into the projects. Now for this project, we'll start with one of these bulb signs from the Dollar Tree, some buffalo check fabric from Joann's, some Greenery and Berries, and also a few bells from the Dollar Tree, and this little sign from the Dollar General. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the bulb sign and we want to remove all of those tags. And then go ahead and pry off that metal part up top with a flathead screwdriver. So now go ahead and grab your fabric, and you want to spread it out nice and even and position your bulb sign right on top of it. Now, you can also use scrapbook paper as well if you like. Now, to adhere the fabric to the sign, I will be using this Mod Podge. So you want to apply an even coat to the entire front of the sign. And then place your sign face down, nice and even on the fabric. And then make sure you press it into place. And then take your scissors and you want to cut your bulb out, leaving about a ½ inch or so around the edge. Now once everything looks good on the front, flip it back over to the back, and what we're going to do is apply hot glue around the edge and then fold that loose fabric edge over it and secure it to that glue all the way around. And once that's done, we can go ahead and reattach that metal portion back on top with hot glue. Now to cover the raw edges on the back of the fabric, we are going to cover the back with some craft paper and just apply some hot glue around the back of your bulb piece and place it on top of that craft paper. And then we're just going to trim off the excess with an X-Acto knife. And now the back of your piece has a nice clean finish. So now I'm going to take that little sign, and to help those words stand out a little better, I'm going to outline it with a black Sharpie. Now this is completely optional, and my buffalo check background kind of blends in, so this will help it pop a little better. And now it's time to decorate our piece. So I'm just going to take my greenery and my berries, and I want to add them to the top of our bulb. Now I'm just going to go ahead and shape the greenery however I like it. And once it's in place, what you want to do is just add some hot glue to the piece on each side of the center. And then I'm going to add a cluster of the berries on each side. And just hot glue those into place. So now we're going to add our words, and we're just going to make sure they're centered near the bottom. Now I also wanted to add some bells, so I'm taking a piece of some jute string, and what I'm doing is I'm tying a bell on each end. Now you want to make sure when you do tie your bells onto the string, you want to make sure you make a double knot. Now I wanted my bells to have a staggered look when I apply it to my piece, So I made the adjustments and then I tied a knot at the fold at the top point. And then if everything looks good, what you're going to do is you're going to apply a generous amount of hot glue to the middle and secure that string into place. Now to kind of hide that string, I'm just going to take a piece of jute string and tie a small bow. And then I'm going to hot glue that bow right in the center. And now your piece is ready to display. And here is that completed project. Now I love how festive this piece turned out. Now I'm really loving all the greens and florals at Dollar Tree this year, and it really adds so much beauty to your creations. Now I chose this believe sign, but you can choose any sign that you like for your project. You guys have to let me know where you would display a sign like this in your home. We'll start with these tumbling blocks from the Dollar Tree, one of these ornaments in this package from the Dollar General, and a piece of black foam board from the Dollar Tree. Now the first thing we're going to do is to lay out my Sure Bonder silicone mat, and then I'm going to grab my tumbling blocks. Now I already stained a bunch of these with this Minwax Jacobian stain. Now what we're going to do with this is we're going to glue 2 sections of 4 blocks. And once we have those 2 sections, we're going to glue 2 sections of 5 blocks. So now we can glue the sections together, and I want to grab my carpenter square just to make sure that all the sides will be nice and even. Now we want to make sure that the shorter sticks are glued in between the 2 longer sticks. And now our frame is done. So we can grab our piece of foam board, and what we're going to do is place our finished frame on top. We're going to trace the inside with a pencil. And then just go ahead and grab your ruler and your X-Acto knife, and we want to cut the shape out on the lines that you traced. And then when you're finished, just test the piece to make sure it fits in the frame well. Now my sign will say comfort and joy, so I'm going to write comfort and on the top of the piece. And then I'm going to go over my pencil writing with this chalk pen. Now you can use a paint marker as well. And then when I finished, I just went back and made any touch-ups that I needed. So now I'm going to grab one of those joy ornaments, and I'm going to remove the hang tag. And then apply hot glue to the back of that ornament and apply it right under the words. So once that's done, we can insert the board into our frame. Now to secure it into place, all I'm going to do is apply a bead of hot glue around the seam on the back of the frame. And then this project is complete. And here is our completed frame art piece. Now I love the way that this turned out. Now the tumbling blocks are so great when it comes to taking stain, and they work so well as frames. And something as simple as foam board and ornaments can turn this into such a beautiful piece. And I know we all could use a little bit of comfort and joy. I just love how this turned out. I will use this sign that I had in my stash from the Dollar Tree. I'll also need some of these window clings from the Dollar General. And now we can get started, and the first thing we're going to do is to take the sign and remove all the embellishments and all of the tags and that hang string. Now I will be applying one nice coat of this white chalk paint to the back of the sign. Now you just want to spread that chalk paint nice and even all over the back, and you can plug those hang holes as needed. And then you want to let it completely dry. Now once it is all dry, we're going to go ahead and mark our planks. So I'm going to start by marking the center of the board. And then I want to mark the center of each side, and make sure you draw your lines connecting those marks. So now I'm going to take my Sharpie and a ruler, and I'm going to go over those lines. Now to tone down the sharpness of those lines, I'm going to use a bit of white acrylic paint, and I want to dry brush it over the lines to let it blend in a little better and let that completely dry. Now as an accent, I will be using my faux galvanized poster board, and I created this by spraying it with shiny silver and then blotting with a paper towel. And I'll be sure to link how I did this in the upper right hand corner of this video and also in the description box below. So what I'm going to do is just to cut a 2-inch wide strip from that board and then fan fold them to create a corrugated look. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim the ends as needed to fit on the board. So then I'm going to apply hot glue to the folds that will contact the board. Now I want to apply it to the board about 3/4 of an inch from the top edge, and make sure that each end is nice and secure as well. And here is our faux metal look. Now we're going to repeat this on the bottom of the board as well. So now we can add our window clings, and I'm going to choose the Merry Christmas truck. Now to adhere this to the board, we'll be using this matte Mod Podge from the Dollar Tree. Now what I'm going to do is just spread a thin coat all over the cling nice and even. And then I just want to apply it to the center of the board. And once that's nice and secure in place, I'm just going to continue to add a few of the snowflake clings as well, and I'm just going to randomly place these around the truck. Now once they're all applied, I'm going to take some of this rope, and I want to cut 2 pieces the width of the board. And then I'm going to take my hot glue and run a bead along the top of that corrugated strip and apply a piece of rope into place. Now I do want to repeat this for the bottom as well. Now you guys know I love my projects to have a finished look, so I'm going to cover that artwork in the back, and I'm going to use craft paper. You just want to run a bead of hot glue around that edge and then press that paper into place. And then I'm just going to trim off the excess with an X-Acto knife. Now, preparing your piece like this is great if you want to have gift giving or resell your item. It just has a very professional presentation. Now the final thing is to go ahead and add that jute piece of twine with knotted ends and hot glue it into place. And oh my goodness, here it is all complete, and I just love it so much. Now I absolutely love these window clings, and there are so many awesome projects that you can make with them. And these corrugated pieces really resemble metal, and they really amp up the look. Now this project was so much fun to create, and I can't wait to craft with the other window clings as well. inspiration photo for this project. Now I love the simplicity and clean look of this piece, and the contrast between the glitter words and the wood backing really stand out. That beaded handle is also a great plus. Now this item was listed at $26.99, but I know we can make it for a lot less. Now for this project, we'll start with a piece of black foam board from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use this Merry Christmas Gold glitter sign from the Dollar Tree. Some of this dark wood contact paper, and this is from the Dollar Tree. We're going to use some nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to be using some of these white wood beads from Walmart. Now the first thing we're going to do is take our Merry Christmas sign, and we want to remove all of those tags and strings from the sign. Then to stop that glitter shed, we're going to take some Mod Podge, and we want to apply a coat to the entire front of the piece, and we want to let that dry. Now once the front is dry, we are going to apply a layer to the back as well. And now that it's all dry, we need to make a frame for it. Now as you can see, it is much too large for the pizza pan, so we're going to make our own frame from that black foam board. So just go ahead and place that sign on the foam board, and we are going to take our ruler and mark the center. And then we're going to mark each side about 1.5 inches from the edge where the letters end. Then to make our circle frame, you just want to take a piece of string and tie it to a pencil. We want to pin it in the center of the board and then draw the circle. Then to outline our circle, we're just going to use one of these Dollar Tree markers, and we're just going to go over the circle the same way. So now we're going to grab the X-Acto knife, and we want to carefully cut that circle out of the board. So now that our circle is done, we can grab that contact paper, and we're going to cut a piece wide enough to cover the width of our circle. So just place it on top and then cut your piece out. Now you can certainly apply this as one sheet, but I wanted to create a plank look just like our inspiration piece. So to make our planks, what we're going to do is we're going to mark the paper at the half point. And then we're just going to cut that in half, and then we're going to take those cut strips and cut them in half once again, and you're going to end up with 4 equal strips. So then we're going to grab our circle and take our ruler, and we want to mark the center line of that circle board. And we can start applying our strips. We're just going to line it up along that center line. Now you do want to carefully place this in place, and you want to smooth out the contact paper on both ends. Now this contact paper is really easy to work with, and it comes back up if you make an error. So we just want to apply as smoothly as possible. Now to apply that second strip, you want to leave a small gap in between the pieces to create a plank look. And then you want to repeat this for the 2 remaining strips. Now once that's all done, we can go around the edge, and we're going to trim off the excess. We want to leave about 1 inch or so on the edge. And then I'm going to go around the edge, and I'm going to make a few snips in the trim so it can easily fold over to the back. So my inspiration piece had a plain white trim around it, but I decided to add some of this nautical rope to trim around my piece. Now all you want to do is start applying hot glue around the edge of the circle and apply the rope as you go. Now at the point where the ends meet, you just want to trim the end down and apply a little bit of hot glue to the end to keep it from unraveling. And then you can just secure the end right into place. So now we can go ahead and apply that Merry Christmas sign, and we need to cover those 2 hang holes. So I'll be using some of this glitter ribbon. I'm just going to cut a few small pieces, and I'm going to flip the sign over and hot glue them right over the holes on the back of the sign. And now we can adhere the sign to the board. Now all I'm going to do is apply a little bit of hot glue to a few sections at the top of that sign, and I want to place it into place. Now once that top is adhered, we're going to add a few more bits of the hot glue to the bottom to finish it off. Now once everything is into place, we can start to work on our beaded hanger. Now to start, we're just going to use some of these beads, and we're going to use some of this jute string. Now we're going to start to add on about 24 beads for this strand of beads. And once all of them are strung on, we're just going to tie the ends in a knot. Now we're going to flip our sign over, and we're going to take the strand and we want to center it on the back of it, and then add a line of hot glue to secure each one of those strands into place. And you all know I love a finished look, so I'll be covering the back with some craft paper. You just want to apply some hot glue around the edge of the frame, and you want to start to add that craft paper to the back in small sections at a time. Now once all of that craft paper is applied, you just trim off all of the excess with an X-Acto knife. And once it's all trimmed, here is what it looks like. Now, the Kirklands version is on the left and my version is on the right. It's so amazing what you can do with Dollar Tree items to make a similar piece on a budget. So now all you have to do is hang it up in your favorite spot. Now, I really love how the plank look turned out in this piece. And these Christmas signs are so much fun to craft with. And the rope trim really looks great. Now, if you want to add a little extra pizzazz, you could place a few holiday picks on the bottom for the Christmas season. We'll start with 2 of these vases from the Dollar Tree. Now the first thing we're going to do is paint it with a couple coats of white paint on the vases, and you can use spray paint, chalk, or acrylic. And now that they are nice and dry, we can decorate them. Now I will be using some of this greenery and berry bundles that I already had on hand. Now to attach the berries to the vase, you could certainly hot glue them, but in order for the decor to be switched out, I will be using jute twine to tie them on. Now you just want to use a very tight double knot to secure the bundle into place. Now an option to add to the top is wrapping the jute twine around the top of the vase and covering up that tie, and actually this looks really great. Now I decided I'm going to go with the checkered ribbon to keep with the theme of the collection, and I will just be wrapping it around the top and tying a bow around it. And then just trim it down to fit. And once that's all done, just repeat this for your second vase. Now you can use these as is, or you can add some filler if you like to the vases, or you can keep them just regular and without any filler. It's all up to you. And then just display them however you wish. And there you have it, a sweet and simple vase set to add to your home decor. Now these turned out so great, and the greenery can be changed out with those seasons. And I love this super cute set, and I hope you guys like them too. Project will start with one of these sled signs from the Dollar Tree, this placemat from the Dollar General, some pieces of garland that I purchased on clearance, and some of these berries from the Dollar Tree. Now the first thing we're going to do is to take that sled, and we want to remove all of the tags and that hang string. And then I'm going to go ahead and protect my work surface and use this black acrylic paint to paint those rails on the sled. Now you do want to make sure you remove that little piece across the top, and we'll be reapplying that later. You're just going to apply 2 coats and let them dry thoroughly in between the coats. So now we can grab that placemat, and what we're going to do is center the design on the sled, and we want to trace it on the placemat with a pencil. And then we're just going to cut that shape out with a pair of scissors. Now we do need to trace that curve at the bottom, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily tape the placemat in place on the shed. And then I want to flip it over, and then I can trace out the shape of the bottom. And then trim that out as well. So now we can adhere our placemat piece to the sled, and you want to apply hot glue along the top first and make any adjustments. Now once it's nice and aligned, you can go ahead and apply hot glue along the sides and the bottom. And now we're going to grab that top piece that we removed, and we're just going to apply 2 coats of black acrylic paint to this piece. And then once it's all dry, we can hot glue that back into place. So now we're going to grab that garland, and we're going to cut a piece that will decorate the top of our sled. And then we're going to shape it, and once it's shaped how you like, all you have to do is apply hot glue to that top piece and then press that garland piece into the hot glue. Now to embellish my garland, I'm going to be using some of these red berries from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to trim the stems of the berries down to size and then adhere them randomly to the garland. Now for the center, I'm going to use this checkered ribbon, and I'm just going to make a small bow tie sized bow for the center. Now once you have your bow shape, you're just going to cut another small piece for the center to hold it together. I didn't want this to be too overstated because I didn't want it to block the words on my sign. And now that our bow is complete, we can secure it in place with a dab of hot glue. And then once we secure that, we can add a few more berries if you like. And when everything is nice and dry, we can go ahead and add our twine back on the sled. And I'm just going to tie this on with a double or triple knot to keep it from flowing through. And now we can place our sled on display. Now I think that this turned out so adorable. Now adding that pine greenery and berries will really make this piece shine. And this little truck is super cute. Let me know in the comments how you would display this sleigh in your space. We'll start with some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree, this burlap placemat from Dollar General, and a piece of foam board. Now I'm going to start by laying out my Sherm Bonder silicone mat and grabbing my tumbling blocks that I've already stained with Jacobian Stain by Minwax. Now I'm going to start by joining together 10 blocks with hot glue, and I'm going to make sure I use a straight edge to make sure that they are all being applied evenly. And now that we have our 10 block stick, we're going to make a second 10 block stick. And now we're going to make two 6 block sticks. And now we can assemble our frame, and again I'm going to use my carpenter square to help make sure that the corners are nice and even. Now when making this frame, just make sure that the shorter sticks are sandwiched in between the 2 longer sticks. And now our frame is complete. So now what I want to do is grab the placemat, and what I'm going to do is set the frame right on top of it. Now the frame should fit the bottom and side edges, but we'll leave about a ½ inch peeking out of the top. So I'm just going to mark a line across that overage, and then I'm going to go back and cut off all of that excess. And then I'm just going to go back and seal that opening with hot glue. And now you can go ahead and start working on the foam board piece, and you want to place your frame right on top. Now we're going to be tracing the outside of the frame with a pencil onto the foam board. And then you can cut that shape out of your foam board using a ruler and your X-Acto knife. And now that it's all cut out, we can apply the placemat. Now you just want to center it on the board, and what you want to do is you want to apply a bead of hot glue across the top. And you want to make sure everything is centered and nice and even. And once that's nice and even, you can apply hot glue on the sides and the bottom. So now we can apply our frame on top. So just go ahead, flip your frame over, and you want to apply a bead of hot glue onto the back of the frame. Then flip it over and place it carefully on top of your mat and your board. Now it looks great as it is, but I did want to add a little bit of an embellishment. So I'm going to grab some of these garland strips, red berries, and some pine cones that I already had on hand. Now I want to start by taking the garland pieces and putting a folded piece in the top of each corner, and I'm going to be trimming it down on one side so it lays flat on top of the mat. And then I'm going to apply hot glue to the underside and place one piece in each corner. And then I'm going to add 3 pine cones into each corner as well. And then I'm going to add a few berries. Now we want to repeat this for the other corner as well. And here is what it should look like. So now what we're going to do is flip it over, and we'll be, of course, applying that jute string with knotted edges to hang it. Now once that dries, you can hang and enjoy your piece. And here you have it. How beautiful is this piece? Now I love this placemat from the Dollar General, and it looks so great in this project. And who wouldn't love this cute little truck? Now I topped this off with that pine cone embellishment, and the piece looks so warm and cozy and simply beautiful. The other half of the mop heads used in our first DIY. We'll also need some leftover foam board scraps from the Dollar Tree. And we'll also be using some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. Now the first thing we're going to do is to take that foam board, and we want to just draw out some triangle shapes. So I'm just going to take my ruler and I'm just going to eyeball the size and the shape. So just have fun with it, and you can make your shapes however you like. Now I chose to do graduated shapes with a taller, middle, and smaller tree. Now this is a good reason to keep all of those scraps. You never know what you can use them for. Now once all of your shapes are drawn, you just want to take your ruler and X-Acto knife, and you want to carefully cut out all of your shapes. So now all three of our triangles are ready to be turned into Christmas trees. So I'm going to lay them out and grab those mop head strands, and I'm going to start with my tallest tree. Now for this one, I wanted to lay the strands at an angle along the edge of the triangle, so I'm just going to apply some hot glue down the edge and then start laying those strands into place. And then I'm just going to continue adding the following pieces in the same pattern at the same angle. Now that the front is all covered, we can add a piece to that exposed edge on the side where we started, and we're just going to add hot glue to the edge and press a piece into place. So now we're going to flip it over, and we're going to secure those end pieces the same way we did for our jumping deer. So now we're going to move on to the smaller tree, and I'm just going to add them in a simple horizontal pattern and then secure them on the back as well. Now for my medium tree, I'm going to try out a chevron type of pattern, and I want to just draw a chevron shape with my hot glue. And then I'm going to start to add that mop head string in a chevron pattern. And I'm just going to repeat this for the entire tree. Again, this is all experiment and just having fun. You could do whatever pattern that you like. Now here's the front done, and we're just going to secure the back loose strings. Now once all three trees are done, we can just go ahead and add our craft paper backing to seal in all of those raw edges. And here are all three trees covered and ready to decorate. Now in order for these to stand on their own, I'm going to be adding some of these tumbling tower blocks to the back for stability. So to back the two smaller trees, I'm going to be joining together 6 blocks. Now this will create a platform for the back. Now in order to make this, we're just going to join 3 sets of 2 sticks together and then stack those on top of each other and secure them together. And once we complete this one, we're just going to make a second set of 6 blocks, and then we're going to do a third set with 9 blocks for the largest tree. So now that our pieces are made, we can add them to the back of our trees. So I'm going to take one of those 6 block sets and hot glue it to the back of the smallest tree. And then I'm going to repeat this process for the other 2 trees. So now at the last minute, I decided to add sides to those wood platforms. Now this is in case you wanted to add flat rocks for leverage or a battery tea light to the back of the tree for kind of a backlight effect. Now to make the sides, we're simply going to glue 2 of the blocks together for each side of that platform. And once they're made, we're just going to place hot glue on each one of the pieces and place them on each side of that platform on the back of the trees. Now we're going to repeat this for the remainder of the trees. So now that they're done, we can decorate. So for the tallest tree, I'm going to use this checkered ribbon, and what I want to do is wrap it around the tree in a diagonal pattern. Now I'm going to go ahead and trim it and tape it into place so I can reuse the ribbon, but you can hot glue it if you wish. And for the smallest tree, I'm going to be taking a garland tie, and I'm going to be taking some small red berries and making a small wreath. I'm just twisting the garland tie together, and I want to make sure this fits on the tree. So then we can start adding our berries to the wreath, and these are pretty tiny, so I'm using a pair of Dollar Tree tweezers to hot glue these into place so I don't burn my fingers. Now to hang my wreath on the tree, I will use a scrap of that ribbon we used on that larger tree and just loop one end around the wreath and hot glue it into place. And then I'm going to place the other side on the back of the tree and tape it into place. Now for this last tree, I'm just going to add a bow on top from some of that leftover ribbon. And once it's nice and trimmed down, we're just going to add a dot of hot glue to secure it at the top. Now to embellish it, I'm going to use some of this berry garland from the Dollar Tree. Now to apply it, I'm just going to start at the top, and I'm going to go to the back and twist it together to secure it in place, and then just wrap it around the tree in a horizontal pattern. And once it's all wrapped, just go ahead and clip the end and we can secure it in place. And now that that's done, we're ready to display all of our beautiful trees. And here they are on display. I think that these are super cute and fun. Now these different patterns and textures of the ribbon and the mop head really blend so well, and the mop head makes a great neutral background. And I think the back of these trees provide the perfect platform for flat stones or battery tea lights for a backlit display. Now, however you choose to display these, they are sure to stand out in your decor. Inspiration photo for this project. Now this sweet Christmas decor frame is really cute, and I love the drape bead accent to hold your picture. Now I really love anything that can be personalized, so swapping out the photo was a super plus for me, and it can be made on a budget. Now for this project, we'll need some of those leftover tumbling blocks from Dollar Tree, some jute twine from the Dollar Tree, some tartan craft paper, fabric, or printable. We'll also need some 16mm wood beads, and we'll need a scrap piece of foam board. Now the first thing I'm going to do is lay out my Surebonder silicone mat and grab those wood pieces. Now we're going to be making a wood frame with 4 pieces across the top and bottom and 3 pieces on each side. So now we can start bonding the side sections together. And now that all the sides are together, I'm going to use my carpenter square that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to use this just to make sure our corners are at a perfect right angle. Now when bonding them, you want to make sure that the shorter sides are mounted on the inside of the longer sides. And another great tip is to make sure that you wipe away any glue oozing out of the seams as you go, and it'll create a nice finished and professional look. And now your frame is complete, so we want to grab that scrap foam board and we want to trace the inside of the frame onto the board. And then you want to grab your cutting mat, your ruler, and your X-Acto knife, and you want to cut the shape out of the board. And now that your piece is cut out, just go ahead and test fit your shape to the frame and make any adjustments if needed. So now we're going to take our tartan print, and what we're going to do is we're going to hot glue our form square on the back. And once that's secured into place, just go ahead and trim off the excess with the X-Acto knife. And once everything is trimmed, check it one more time to make sure if any adjustments need to be made, and we are good to go on this piece. So now you just want to cut a piece of jute string just a little longer than you need, and we're going to be stringing some beads on here. Now I like to put a little bit of hot glue on the end of my jute string to keep it from fraying, and it makes it easier to bead. So for this project, I end up using about 10 beads for this jute string. Now once all your beads are nice and in place, what you're going to do is you're going to secure them at each end of the back top corner by adding a little hot glue to the back. And now to place Merry Christmas on front, I'm going to use a combination of a paint marker and a chalk pen so it's nice and bold. Now you can also use a cutting machine if you have one. So now you just want to trim off those strings on the back, and you can insert your board into the frame and make sure you push it all the way to the bottom. And then you want to flip it over, and to secure this into place, you just want to run a bead of hot glue all around that seam to secure it. So now all you do is take a mini clothespin from the Dollar Tree, place it in the middle, and get your picture, add it there, and there you have it. So now you could just place it in your favorite place along with your favorite photo, and wow, I really love how this turned out. Now this cute frame is super sweet, and along with it being easy, it's super budget friendly too. Now you could make at least 5 of these frames for the cost of one at Kirklands. Now to me, that's a DIY on a budget. We'll start with one of these large bulb signs from the Dollar Tree and one of these kitchen towels from Dollar General. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove that hang string and the tags. And then we're going to pry off the metal part at the top and set it to the side. So now you want to take your towel and you want to open it up and center that image in the center of the bulb. And then grab your Mod Podge. Now we're just going to be lifting one corner of the at a time for the towel and applying that Mod Podge underneath and smoothing it into place as you go. And then you want to repeat this on the other side. And then finish it up by completing the top of the bulb as well. Now once everything is nice and smooth in place, flip that bulb over, and what we're going to do is trim off the excess of the towel, and we want to leave about 1 inch of the towel around the edge. And then flip it over and trim off that top edge where your metal part will go. And now we're going to use our hot glue, and we just want to start to apply around the back end section, folding the edge of the towel and securing it into place. Now this looks great as it is, but we're going to go ahead and put that metal piece back on top. Now I love this, but I felt like it needed a little extra jazz, so I will be using these garlic stems around my bulb. Now what I want to do is just start applying the garland in sections around the bulb, and you want to make sure you clip them down as you go so they do not lift. Now once they're all applied, I'm going to remove all the clips, and what I want to do is trim the inside all the way around so all the words will be showing and they won't be obstructed by the garland. Now a word of warning, this can be kind of messy, so have your dustbuster handy. Now I did have some of that berry garland left over from a previous project, so I'm just going to use that around the garland trim as well. Now to apply this, I'm just going to apply hot glue in several different spots. Now to finish off the front, I'm going to use some of this red and black checked ribbon, and I'm going to tie a small bow. Now I'm going to secure that bow at the very top with hot glue, and then once that's secured with hot glue, we're just going to go ahead and trim it down to the size we like. Now of course we don't want those cut edges on the back of the piece to show with the towel, so we're just going to cover it with more craft paper. Again, I'm just going to apply some hot glue all the way around the bulb and then flip it over to secure it to that craft paper. And then you want to carefully trim off the excess, not making sure you're not cutting the garland. And then to hang it, we're just going to add that knotted jute string in the back with hot glue. And there you go. So now you can take your creation and place it on display. What a cute little sign. Now the towels at Dollar General are so adorable this year, and I just had to make something with them. Now I did apply my towel to the front, but I'll definitely use the back of the sign next time so you can't see the other sign through. And I always find it hard to choose a favorite, but let me know in the comments which project was your favorite today. Listen, I hope that you all enjoyed seeing these creations again, or for some of you, for the very first time. I hope that you all are inspired to create your own Christmas home decor using the different supplies from the Dollar Tree and the Dollar General presented in this video. Now, if you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a big thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She's So CraftDee on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. Now, if you like videos like these and you don't want to miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button below, or just click on my She's So Crafty logo on your screen and make sure you hit that bell to be notified when the next DIY goes live. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.